man. Good morning. All my friends, I'm looking around, especially the members I serve with, and they're all laughing because the irony of me announcing in the Sports Hall of Fame. There's a lot of irony to that. First of all, thank you for coming this morning. I want to first recognize the love of my life, the reason that I got into this business to start with, Miss Devin Shannon. She has been absolutely. In fact, for you guys with the camera, if you're really interested in me in winning, just cut me out of the frame and put it on her, and I'll do the talking. She has been an inspiration to me since over our 12 years of marriage, and this past year, I knew she was made of good stuff, Governor Anna told me, but I found out just how tough of stuff she is with what she's been through, and let's give her another round of applause, please. I see a lot of my colleagues from the House and may even have a senator or two in here, I suspect. But thank you guys for being here as well. It means more than you know to have served alongside you these past 8 years. But I'm here today to talk about the future of our country. And before we can talk about America's future, we must first consider the past, what this country has been, what it has symbolized, and what we as a people have accomplished since we first became America of these United States. Since the first days of our nation, we have been a country that values freedom. So much so that our Constitution includes a Bill of Rights to guarantee certain freedoms. And it also limits the power of our federal government. Most importantly, the men who wrote our Constitution were very clear about where those rights come from. They said we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. They didn't say that we are endowed by our government. They didn't say we are endowed by the courts. And they didn't say we are endowed by politicians. You see, the freedoms and rights that we enjoy as Americans are recognized in our Constitution as coming from God Almighty. Amen. Absolutely. Friends, that is the firm foundation upon which our nation stands. And at the core of those rights is that which I believe the human heart desires more than anything, and that's freedom. Freedom to worship, freedom to speak your mind, freedom to live as you choose and pursue any dream you see fit. I used to be so naive to believe that our freedom was so deeply woven into the fabric of this country that nothing could ever put it at risk. But over the last 6 years, like many Oklahomans, I have seen so many of our freedoms and rights under assault. It makes me seriously concerned about what kind of country my children, Tarahan and Audrey, will inherit. It used to be that in America, hard work and perseverance was enough to succeed in business. But today, you need hard work, you need perseverance, but you also have to first overcome a maze of federal regulation and red tape and rules. It used to be that in America, you could see whatever doctor you wanted. You could buy whatever health insurance you could afford. But today, Obamacare forces us to purchase health insurance we may not want, and it covers healthcare procedures we probably don't even need. And the doctors you've been going to for years, they may not even take that insurance anymore. All of these things affect families in every corner of this state and this country, all over Oklahoma. Those families need someone who will stand up for them and fight to protect their freedoms. Someone who will fight to protect their values. Someone who will go to Washington, D.C., like Dr. Tom Coburn has done, and say no to the spending and debt that is bankrupting our country. Someone who will work every day to reclaim the promise of American greatness, so our children and our grandchildren can live the American dream just as our parents and grandparents did. The decision for me to run has not been easy. But today, I am standing here today announcing that I am running for the United States Senate. If I'm to be frank with you, it's actually the only decision I could have made. Standing by and doing nothing as our country goes so far in the wrong direction just is not an option for me. I firmly believe that what we do in public service is a ministry. The 13th chapter of Romans says that we are ministers. Therefore, the work that we do is ministry. This is the same way I felt about 8 years ago when I first decided to run for the House of Representatives. Oklahoma had been going down the wrong path for so many years, but new leadership was in charge of the House. I knew our state needed energetic conservatives who would fight for the right policies, and that's why I ran. During my time in office, I was able to cut taxes by hundreds of millions of dollars, eliminate millions in waste and duplication, and fundamentally reform our workers' compensation system, saving Oklahoma business owners $140 million a year in premium costs. We also required a work requirement for any healthy person receiving food stamps of 20 hours per week. That's a step in the right direction, proving that we should define conservatism, as my mentor J.C. Watt says, not by the number of people we add to welfare rolls, but the number of people we get off of welfare. That's what real compassion is. Once my colleagues, many of whom are in this room, elected me as Speaker, I was in an even greater position to affect policy changes for the state of Oklahoma. I certainly wanted to lead in the way of preserving freedom and strengthening families and growing jobs, but I didn't want to do this thing just so that we as Oklahoma could benefit. My vision was to show the rest of the country what kind of prosperity could come from conservative policies. You know, just telling people is not enough anymore. You have to show them. As one of my mentors always tells the story of the picture on the box, it's so true. Think about it. When you buy a new kid for your toy at Christmas time, when you buy a new toy for your kids at Christmas time, that's right. And I go through it every Christmas, right? I often don't read the directions. I simply look at the picture on the box. And many times that picture on the box tells me more than any directions or instructions could have, because you can see for yourself what it's supposed to look like. When I became Speaker, I knew the country was hungry for that picture on the box, something to show them what conservative policies look like and how conservative policies are how we get to prosperity. There'll always certainly be room to improve, but what we have now is a state with one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. Absolutely. We also have one of the lowest tax burdens in the nation. That's something to be proud of, and it didn't happen by accident. It's because we worked together as a team to implement conservative policies, and we wanted people to keep more of what they earned, and we wanted businesses free to add more jobs. The results have been simply nothing short of spectacular. By almost any economic measure, Oklahoma is the envy of the nation. And there's another economic measure we're improving on in Oklahoma, and that's our debt. Much has been made in the newspapers about my opposition to adding more debt to the state of Oklahoma. But government shouldn't spend more money than it has. That's a fundamental core belief for me. I've watched our country go trillions of dollars into debt, and I pledged that when I became Speaker, that Oklahoma would not go the way of Washington, D.C. We need to reduce our national debt, not keep adding to it. We will never get out of debt if we're continuing to add to that debt. Because me and others have refused to add more debt at the state level, Oklahoma has actually reduced its bond indebtedness by $85 million. If we stay on this path, refusing to add more debt, we will have paid off 85% of our bond indebtedness in 15 years. That's a great example for Washington, D.C. Friends, the truth of the matter is that we cannot continue to go down the same road that we've been going on, and we cannot be free while also in debt. Proverbs 27:7 tells us that the borrower is a slave to the lender. We must get our spending under control and stop adding more debt at the federal level. Our constitutional freedoms, lowering the tax burden, creating a better business environment, controlling spending and opposing more debt, restoring our military. These are the issues that I care most about, because they actually represent some of my most core beliefs. Our common bond as Oklahomans is it's not our age, it's not where we live, and it's certainly not the color of our skin. Our common bond is what we believe in. I share the same beliefs as my fellow conservatives. I believe every man is created in the image of God. I believe our rights come from God, not our government. I believe in our Constitution, which guarantees us the right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and to life, most importantly. I believe we must protect human life from the moment of conception. I believe the Constitution was written to limit the tyranny of our government, not to restrict the freedom and liberties of individuals. I believe we are guaranteed the right to bear arms and that we should not restrict that right. I believe the private sector should create jobs, not government. I believe government taxes too much, spends too much, and frankly regulates too much. And I still very much believe in the idea of the American dream. My friends, we have two choices, and they're pretty simple to me. We can either work to save this country together, or we can keep going down the path of more debt and reckless spending. We can unite as conservatives and elect leaders all across this country who will choose the right policies, or we can keep sending the same status quo politicians to Washington, D.C. I believe we must choose the path of faith, freedom, and individual liberty. It starts with us, here, today, and now. Working together with God's favor, I am convinced that we can restore this great America that we all love. Before I close, I want to mention again the inspiration of my life, Devin. As we mentioned before, we've talked about it on Facebook. She had a pretty enduring struggle this past fall with a health challenge. And just before she went into her surgery room, she turned to me and said something that hit me to the core. She said, you know, after this surgery, we're going to be very different people. And I thought she was needing my reassurance. I thought she wanted me to reassure her about the future. So I was telling her, no, we're going to be the exact same people. She reminded me the other day when we were praying about the Senate race, she reminded me about that conversation and what she said. She said, no, we are going to be changed because after this moment, we're going to make every single moment of every day count. And you have my pledge, friends, that if you send me to the United States Senate, I'm going to make every single moment of every day count working on your behalf. Thank you and God bless.